Welcome to Break Away from the Rat Race, a podcast series to awaken your entrepreneurial spirit and help you achieve financial freedom. On our show, you'll learn about investments and how to create passive income. Let's get started with your host, Eric Martel.
Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about taking action. So everyone is inspired by success stories of people who were broke and became rich, or became successful somehow. But what are we learning from these stories? Right? They're inspirational. They may give you some confidence that you too can be successful if only you took action and all of that. But are these stories really helping you succeed? What are you getting out of these stories? Are they motivating you in any way in taking action, in getting towards your goal? So there's a lot of those about kind of self-help book as well that are kind of in that same path that are not, in my opinion, not really helping you achieve your goal unless you really take action. And that's the key here. It's about taking action. So if we take a moment of that person that was broke and all of that and what it felt like, just take a moment to imagine what it felt like having multiple jobs, no time to live, take care of family, take care of yourself, being very discouraged and really being trapped and having no way out, right? I mean, this is kind of like what they felt like, no way out. They're back against the wall, right? So what do people do in those situations? Often they're going to do more of what they're already doing. So if they had one job, now they're going to take a second job. Or they would just go completely the opposite and give up everything and, start doing, escaping, doing drugs or doing something else to kind of alleviate the pain, right? But very few people are actually going to sit down and think about their problems and come up with a couple of actions and things that they can do to help themselves, right? I mentioned my mentor at university in a previous podcast. So he was a real estate mentor that was helping me while I was at university. And he was not making that much money. He was a professor, a teacher at a community college, but he wanted to build passive income. He knew that was important because that was his kind of his retirement, and then he wanted to have income from a multifamily properties. Every morning, before everybody was up, he would sit down. He would get up at 5 a.m. and he would have like a couple of things that he would work on. He would think about a couple of problems, a couple of things that he need to figure out, and then work out a solution or work out things that need to be done. Every day he did that. And yes, it took a long time to do this. This is why persistence is very important. But eventually he got the multifamily building. And the last time I checked, he also had a shopping center that he built with the same method that he had. He didn't have that much money, but he was thinking through and then being persistent in always taking action. Small step at a time, but always towards your goal, right? So what did it take that person, not my mentor, but what did it take that our hero in the success story to succeed, right? So they had to have that sense of urgency, right? The back against the wall where they had to do something. Yes, they could have given up and then just fold, but then that wouldn't be much of a story. But the fact that they had their back against the wall, they hit rock bottom, they had no option. They felt in their mind that they had no option and that they had to take action. And this is the same kind of mindset that you need to develop in yourself in order to take action, to push yourself, to motivate you to take action. Also, they would kind of, we talked a little bit about the norms and the limiting beliefs and all of that, and things that are kind of like restraining how we're thinking about problems and because of our point of view, our limited point of view. So they solved the problem necessarily that didn't follow these norms. They had to break down some of these barriers in order to solve their problems and move forward. So again, taking action is critical. and it takes courage to do that. And you have to break down some of these limiting beliefs in order to achieve that. And you have to be persistent. It's not going to be solved. You're not going to wake up one morning and then have a couple of problems, and then everything is going to be done and everything is taken care of. This is something that takes time, and you need to change your mindset in order to achieve that. You need to have great motivation in order to do what you need to do. So let's talk about you. So I know you may not be broke, but maybe you are broke. If you're broke, then that's fine as well. But really, you feel that you can do more. You feel that you can be more than what you are today. And then maybe you work too much. Maybe your job is not significant enough, and you want to do something more than just that, than just working for the man. So all these things can help you find your motivation, and this is the key here: is finding that motivation, something that will drive you to take action, right? Something that will give you a purpose. If you can tie in some emotions with that, it's going to make that motivation even stronger. The same way that the person that was broke, that was starving, that was, all of that, their back is against the wall, so they kind of like, then they want to fight more, or sometimes they get some anger or something that they can use to really help themselves move forward. Do it for your family. Think about your family, and then do it to improve your lifestyle, retirement, right? So that kind of stuff, or you think of a problem in the world that is something that is very important to you. Use that as a motivation to move forward and to take action. Next thing I want to talk about is kind of like why we're not taking action, right? So fear is definitely one of the biggest issue that we have, the biggest barrier and the biggest blockers in us taking action. The fear of failure, fear of losing everything, fear of being ridiculed. It's a very strong emotion. It's one of the strongest emotions we have, and it just can't be eliminated just with logic. It could potentially, but most cases it's not that easy. So my recommendation is first to make a list of all your fears, or the fears that you're thinking about today, and then kind of list them down, right? When the fears are bouncing around in your head, it's kind of hard to concentrate. So when you put them on paper, then they're kind of out of your mind and on that piece of paper, so that you can think more clearly. All right. So you want to quiet that voice down significantly. But just as an example, so early on, I was afraid in real estate when we did the real estate investment, or we're still doing it. But when we got started, we put a purchase and sales agreement, and we had to do an earnest money deposit. Right? We had to write a deposit for that particular property. And I was worried that around here, like the deposit could be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. So it was significant. But I was afraid that, if I didn't go through with a purchase and sale agreement or the purchase, then I would lose that $4,000 and say, well, this is a lot of money. And then, so that was my fear, right? It was on my list. And then I go through and I say, how do I get rid of that fear? So one aspect of it is to talk to the realtor, figure out, hey, what happens if I lose, if I don't buy the property? Am I going to lose my earnest money deposit? And then we pointed out to the purchase and sales agreement and the clause that says that I can back away anytime before this date without losing my earnest money deposit, right? So check. So fear gone. All I had to do now is to make sure that I made a decision before a certain date. And as long as I made the decision before that, then I was fine, and my refund I would receive my refund back in full, right? So that was So that was the fear there, that just as an example. But you have to work through those. And often also some of these fears are also very emotional, right? So it's a little bit, it's not as logical. You can't just do it like this very logically. But you can use fear also to your advantage and really say, convert that fear, the fear of failure, to the fear of never succeeding. That could be a strong motivator, but you can also tie it to the fear of never having enough money to retire, having to work your whole life, not having or sometimes also fear that your children, you won't be able to get a good education because you don't make enough money. So all these things, these could be strong motivator for you to move forward and could get rid of some of the fear of failure. And this is kind of when you have your back against the wall, is that the fear of failure is non-existent. The fear of losing everything is non-existent because you're already rock bottom. There's nothing else you can lose. You have nothing to lose, basically. And then, so you have to do something. You have no other option. And this is kind of like the mindset that you have to get to in order to move forward, right? So we talked about limiting beliefs a little bit, and then I'm going to, for one of the examples that we had up there, but just admit it, limiting beliefs is all about programming. So we've all been programmed by our parents, our children, other children we played with when we were in a child, our friends, religion, school, TV, books, blah, 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 you name it. We've been programmed. And it's not as bad as it sounds, but it's basically all of these things have shaped our point of view, our experience in life, the people we talk to and stuff like that. And I think with social media, it's actually is even more accentuated because we're basically following a certain group of people, and then that group of people has a certain point of view. And then if other people don't have that same point of view, sometimes we just don't follow these people. And so we tend to reinforce that same point of view. We don't always do that, but so that's why it's important to kind of make sure that we follow people that have different point of views, and it kind of like opened up our mind a little bit on some topics. So that's one aspect of it. Some of these beliefs are very well known, right? Also because we keep repeating them in our head, or we keep hearing them at home or whatever. It's things like, I'm not good at math, or I'm not smart, or I didn't go to high school, I didn't go to university, etc., etc. So if you're the one repeating it, so you have to kind of stop this repeating. You don't want to hear that anymore. So you have to stop that voice in your head, or stop the people that are saying it, so that you can really focus on the more positive side of things. Some of these other beliefs are more subliminal, and so kind of buried in your subconscious. It's similar to people who are having fear of spider, or fear of elevators or something like that. So a couple of ways to work through this is basically take small steps. So some people have like a subconscious fear of investment, right? Just investing in a stock market or investing in something. So they have an inherent fear for that kind of activity. So work small. Work with $100 and then do $200 and $500 and stuff like that. Take small increment towards that until you feel more and more comfortable, right? So you may also have to seek professional advice if you want. Hypnosis works pretty well for these types of fears, because these are subconscious fears. So this is something you may want to look into. But yeah, so these are the limiting beliefs, right? So we have a whole bunch of limiting beliefs like that are really putting us in a box that we need to break through. Other barriers that we have is lack of skills or lack of knowledge or something like that. And to be honest, we all lack skills and knowledge. We don't know everything about everything. The key here is to identify people and resources that can help you, that can answer your questions. That's what you need to do. Nobody that is successful today is a lawyer, an accountant, a salesperson, a marketing genius, and a great leader for the company. That's why we have all these different functions, and then because everybody's an expert at it, and you have to listen to your expert. No money. Well, my favorite saying is that it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're always short a couple of millions. And this is every time you have a project, you always need some money. And even if you don't need money, it's a good idea to have money. It minimizes your risk and it increases your return on your cash, on your investment. So why not use other people's money? So no matter what, you want to be able to get that skill. Get the skill of being able to get funds and to raise money for your project, for your venture, for your business and stuff like that. So this is a skill that you have to figure out, or you have to be very close to someone else who will figure it out, and you're going to have to partner up with that person. But being able to get funds is a key skill that you need to have in business. No time. So this is another big one here, another barrier. And really, you have to make time. So, there's no time. Everybody wastes a little bit of time here and there. TV is probably the biggest time suck we all have. But also sometimes commuting is also something else that is a little bit time suck. But really, everyone should be able to carve out 30 minutes a day to basically think about what they're going to work on, what problems they have, and how to solve them. Again, I'm going to go back to my mentor when I was at university and how he was taking, before everybody got up, he would go and sit for an hour and think about different things that he had to work on, things he had to figure out, problems he had to solve. The first 30 minutes are the hardest one to find, but after that, then you're going to get in the mood of it. You're going to fix some things that you have that are stopping you from moving forward and taking further action. And then you'll be, that's going to be easiest. So the first 30 minutes is the hardest one to find, but then it's going to be a habit, and then you'll be doing great. All right. Next, finally, is about really, so where do we get started? How do we get going? Now that you have your motivation, you have the right mindset, the first thing that you start with is your goal. Okay? And I don't mean like having a very, very defined goal and all of that. I think some of you may have heard about SMART, like specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely. That's that acronym to kind of define a goal or an objective. Forget about that. This is not what's important. I want you to find a goal that's going to give you a sense of direction, something that you're going to shoot for. It can't be that broad. Think of it as a target, but it can be broad enough, but not too broad. But something that's going to give you a sense of direction so that you know that, hey, this is kind of like what I'm aiming for, where I'm going. And tie it back to your motivation, understand and feel why you need to do this, why you need to take action, right? And so this goal or these goals are not set in stone, right? They're going to change. So there's no point in like spending an inordinate amount of time to think about those goals and defining them like very clearly. Just as you get towards it, you're gonna get more ideas about what this goal looks like. So it's not set in stone. It will change as you go, as you move forward, and as you take action. So first one, the goal. Second one, focus on action. So take action. So I'm a project manager, program manager. So typically after the goal for me is, planning. But there's a place for that. But this is not the place. You don't want to have to think about all the activities, all the things you have to figure out before taking action. what is key here is for you to focus on taking action. So, we don't want to go into a situation, everybody's heard probably of the term analysis paralysis, right? Too much time spent on planning and figuring out everything that needs to be done and what could go wrong and all the risk and all of that. And then, and in what sequence you need to do this, and then you need to do this. This is not important, right? And then it's better off to do something that's not useful and maybe learn something about it than not going forward and not taking action. So just think about that. And in order to focus on action, you just want to have a list of 3 to 5 action that you need to take and complete in the next 5 days. 3 to 5 actions that you need to take and complete in the next 5 days. So it's that simple. And you keep, as these actions are completed, you keep adding. You're going to learn more, and then you're going to be able to add a couple more actions to your list. But that list should always stay between 3 and 5, and it's a list that you're constantly working on. And that list is going to change, but 3 to 5, and then that's what you're focusing on. Something that can be done within 5 days. That's very simple, right? So this is how you focus on action, and and how you achieve your goal. So setting your goal, focus on action by having that list, and that's it. The next thing is really about, and that things that you have to think about is about building your resources. Because once you're going to start organizing, and you're going to start working on a business, or you're going to do something, you're going to need resources. So you're going to need potentially money. You might need some legal counsel, some general business ideas that you want to, or questions that you want answered. Accounting, could be sales, could be marketing, etc., social media, etc., right? So this is why building your resources, and how you build your resources is by networking. So this is very key. Go to as many networking events as you can, and really share with others what your goal is. So people want to help you achieve your goal, and then they become part of your team somewhat, of people that can help you, that you can go and ask them some questions about sales, about marketing, about the business in general, about the market and stuff like that. So building your resources is key always for anything you're going to do. So that's it. Set your goal, focus on action, build your resource by networking and finding the right people that can support you in achieving your goal. That's all you have to do. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to send them to me. I look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Break Away from the Rat Race with your host, Eric Martel. If you want to share your story and experience with our listeners, please message us on Facebook at Break Away from the Rat Race. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes.